feels. I shook my head and tried to clear the sleepiness out of me, to no avail. I really didn't get any sleep last night. It's already time to wake up? Wait, school. As soon as I realized I had to go to school, I slid out of bed and looked at the vanity mirror. That's a relief. Luckily, there was barely a bruise on my cheek. You had to squint to actually see it. I doubt anyone would actually notice it unless they leaned in really close. Breathing out a sigh, I got dressed, took my backpack, and caught the bus to go to school. It wasn't even hours before everyone heard of the news. I was approached in school and given condolences for my loss. However, that wasn't what shocked my friends.
Wait, so you have the whole Anderson house to yourself? Lucky as hell, man! Quit being so sensitive, Naomi.
Honestly, I don't blame Suzu. A giant mansion? That's kind of cool. Of course, yeah, it's got a lot of memories. It's going to be sad. Someone you love just passed. But I'd love to get out of my house.
Quit being so vulgar, Suzu.
Nah, don't be a priss. Who's right? What? Right about what? Oh.
Of course you would side with her.
Hey, I sided with you last time.
Huh? See? At least she knows how to have fun.
I know how to have fun. You don't need to be wild to have fun.
Guys, I'm going there after school today because my parents want me to get used to living there.
Seriously? It hasn't even been a day since you came back to school.
I know. My parents want me to try living there as soon as possible.
Still, that's really fast. Are you going to be okay?
Of course. But even in the comfort of my best friends, life seemed to keep testing me. Oof.
Hey! Don't go around shoving people like that.
Whoops. Did I strike a nerve, Capini?
This is Lisette. She looks like a skank. I was imagining some cute, almost lolly-styled chick. This is her fucking rival? Oh my god. You are stupidly pathetic. Oh my god. Oh, you go have sex with some jock behind a dumpster. Pop out a prom baby. She let out a small laugh as she twirled her hair around her finger. Lisette, one of the last people I wanted to see today.
It's not me you should be apologizing to.
Oh, Anderson. Hey, how's it going?
I'm alright.
Haven't you already heard, Lisette?
Of what?
Her grandfather's passing.
Ah, well, I'm sorry about that. I don't really watch a lot of news.
It doesn't really sound like you mean it.
I do mean it. Earnestly. Why wouldn't I?
Typical Capini. Isn't her family involved with the mafia
Some
or something?
random rude girl.
I wouldn't be surprised if she brought out a bat from behind her back right this moment.
I'd nearly forgotten about the crowd that followed Lisette. It was mostly comprised of people that no one wanted to see on a typical school day. I don't have the slightest idea why exactly they followed Lisette around persistently, but they labeled themselves as social equals with her.
That is out of line. Suzu comes from an honest family.
Says the one whose family profits from political scandals.
Yeah, your dad doesn't make anything unless he's in the court with dirty politicians.
Hey, let's all calm down for a second, alright? I'm sure Anderson needs some time to recuperate. I mean, what just happened? We need to give her some respect.
You are so fucking bullshit two-faced. Your nose is also huge. Not the same as them, but your positioning makes it look larger. You're so fucking terrible. Oh, how is that a threat? She's one of those girls I just kind of want to kick in the fucking crotch. Yes, we feel it too. It's not as bad as guys, but we do feel a little something. It's not fun to get kicked anywhere, but I still want to kick her. And also in the face. Just stop. Stop acting like that already. Like you feel sorry for me.
What are you talking about?
Look at my friends' faces. I'm sure you're happy seeing me like this. You already have everything you've wanted. Now seeing me like this, life couldn't get any better. Bitterness seeped into me. Words started flying out of my mouth without filter. Honestly, I didn't care. I was so consumed by anger, only saw Lisette in front of me. What exactly am I to you? Just another part of your obstacle course? Is that what I am? I'm sick of it, Lisette. I'm sick of all these charades. I'm sick of you. Gasps rose from the crowd around her. I was brought back to the school hallway. Even my friends beside me looked at me in surprise. One girl looked like she was going to speak up, but Lisette held her hand up to stop her. There was an emotion on her face I couldn't quite make out, but I could see a form of pity in her eyes. No, don't you dare pity me. I looked away from her. I didn't want to see that emotion in her eyes when she was talking to me. She didn't have the right to look at me that way.
I'm sorry. I know your grandfather passing away must have really taken a toll on your emotions.
She stepped towards me and put her hand on my shoulder, giving me a tiny smile, as if for old time's sake. But for some reason, I didn't feel comforted at all. Not that I was just angry at her, but the expression on her face. Oh shit, anyways. Something was different about her. I couldn't quite place my finger on it, but something about her had definitely changed.
Well, I'll be going for now. Track meet responsibilities and all of that stuff. See you later.
Something about Lisette made me feel uncomfortable. I wasn't just angry, but also uneasy. What was it? I'd never seen her like that before. I decided to pay no further attention to it. She continued running down the hallway with her gaggle of friends behind her. I refocused my attention to Miss Phillips, who was walking down the hall towards me.
Is everything all right, girls?
Nothing we couldn't handle, Mrs. P. Just a bunch of snobs.
Suzu, hush! It was nothing, Mrs. Phillips.
I see. Well, Miss Anderson, please accept my condolences for your loss.
Thank you, Mrs. Phillips.
Your grandfather was a good man. He really upheld the philanthropy of his company's policies, and the money that went towards charity, too.
I know. He was amazing. I really looked up to him. I want to be as good as he was.
Well, I know that you'll be as great as your grandfather.
Hell yeah, she will. She'll be 10 times better than her grandfather.
Would I? Would I really be better than my grandfather? Everyone seemed to have high expectations for me. I wanted to do my best to make my family proud. But to be better than my grandfather? I wasn't sure about that. From outside the school window, I saw a familiar blue car pull up to the curb. Undoubtedly, it was my father in the driver's seat. Oh, my ride's here. Well, I guess I'll see you both tomorrow.
Want us to come with you?
Oh no, it's okay. I'll be fine. See you. Hey, Dad.
Hey, honey.
As I got into the car, I noticed my father looked troubled, clutching at the steering wheel and staring straight ahead, as if something was really bothering him.
About what happened yesterday. I'm sorry for yelling at you. Does your cheek still hurt?
No, it's nothing to worry about.
I mean it. I shouldn't have laid a finger on you. You know that you're my most precious daughter. You're all that I have.
Okay, maybe he does care. Just seems very, very salty towards his father. Well, salty's putting it lightly, but I'm sure something happened. He couldn't bring himself to say what he could never say to me for such a long time. I always wanted to hear those words to affirm how he really felt, but I guess even now he couldn't say it to me. I turned my head away to look out the window. There was no point in waiting for something that was never going to come. Like that, I started to drive, and the conversation between us ended. I decided to focus my attention on the passing scenery. We're taking the usual route to Grandfather's house, located within the vicinity of school's district. But it was still pretty far from the school and from where our house was. He'd always lived alone, insisted on doing things by himself, even at his age, living in such a large house. I wondered, did he pass away with no one at his side as well? It sounded so lonely and sad. It was strange that he decided on living all alone in his large estate. If anything, he could have lived with us. Though he and my father probably would have given each other the silent treatment the entire time, maybe living alone was preferable to that. I actually hadn't visited him for quite a while. Visits to his house were most frequent when I was a child, and I'd grown up long since then. The last time I visited, though, he'd looked just as he usually was, happy and healthy. But things change. In the back of my mind, I knew that he would have to leave one day. It wasn't like humans could live forever. So, why did my heart still feel so heavy? Honey, that's loss. No matter what, even if you're expecting it, always makes your heart feel heavy. The car ride was mostly spent in silence, until he spoke up again.
How was school? Maintaining your grades, I hope.
Yeah, I'm trying my best as of so far.
Trying? That's not really doing the best you can, is it?
With my father, only some words I said were filtered through his ears. It was difficult to keep up a conversation without eventually talking about academics or my future, even if it was something loosely based on it. He always found a way to integrate it whenever he talked.
Anyway,
We talked.
Your belongings are in the trunk. There isn't a lot, so I'm sure you can manage bringing them inside the house. After all, you are on the road to being independent now.
Yes, I can manage on my own. The usual silence resumed between us. I really wasn't sure what to say around him, especially most of the time we didn't share the same opinions. One question did linger in my mind, though. If he was going to justify acting so nonchalantly at grandfather's funeral, I had the right to at least know why. Dad, about you and Grandpa.
We are not talking about this.
I feel like we should be, because Grandpa did leave us yesterday, so...
I wouldn't care if he had left even long before that. I do not want to hear it, and that is the end of this conversation.
That's unfair. As always, he managed to shut down any other form of conversation related to him. It was just like what happened last night. I opened my mouth slightly, but I closed it again. It was like talking to a brick wall. It wasn't like I could find out anything by somehow arguing my way through it. All right, then. I leaned against the car door and stared out the window. I really couldn't think. What would this place be like? I'd been to my grandfather's house before, but it was one thing visiting. It was another thing actually living there. How would I manage living on my own without any training to really care for a house? I knew that naturally the bills would be paid by my parents, who inherited my grandfather's stocks to the corporation. Stocks. But had never lived independently before. Thinking about it made me feel like some kind of bird being pushed out of the nest. Though I was technically an adult, I felt unprepared and a bit daunted at the prospect of actually moving into a new place. Whether it's moving into a new place or just going off to college, or deciding your own future, being an adult in general can be daunting. So, we'll all feel this. Most people my age would be ecstatic moving out. Not necessarily. After all, it would symbolize some kind of change in their lives, like being on the road to independence. You can be independent without having to move out, trust me. But I felt like it was nothing of the sort. I really hoped I wouldn't let my parents down. I wouldn't want to let grandfather down. What would he be saying right now? I gazed up at the passing clouds in the sky. If you're out there, grandfather, how would you be doing? Would there be anything you'd want to tell me at this moment? Of course, no answer. What was I doing? Searching for an answer in a heaven that would or would not exist? I ducked my head to stare at the blur of trees and cars from the car window. My head was definitely going into the clouds there at that moment. Either way, I found myself being driven off to my new home. The car rolled to a stop, and I drifted out of my thoughts.
Here we are. Go on in.
All right. Tell Mom I love her.
All right.
I love you, Dad. No, make sure to come by and visit often. No, I'm going to miss you lots. Nothing other than a blank stare. I paused a bit before reaching for the car door handle, waiting for any form of a goodbye, but he didn't speak again. I sighed and exited the car, hearing my dad pop open the trunk. I saw 2 large bags that I packed last night that were large enough to carry only the things I needed. I took them out, placed 1 bag on each shoulder, and then closed the trunk. He then drove off, leaving me alone in front of the mansion. I watched the blue car fade into the distance of the road before turning to see my new home. There it is. It's huge. My grandfather gave me this? Hard to believe. The house was framed by a set of tall gates. I hesitantly pushed them aside to take in the entire estate. Well, it could be eerie if you're by yourself. The house still looked like it was when I last visited him. At a glance, it seemed kind of intimidating with its size, though if I came closer, it was clear that there was more to it than that. The brick walls were framed by shrubbery and lovely flowers. There's not a single fucking flower in that picture, giving it a homey and welcoming look. But in contrast, the tall doors of the house gave me a feeling of grandeur. Who knew what was waiting for me? But I wouldn't back down at this moment. I took out the key to the front doors and unlocked them. Well, might as well make myself at home. I'll be staying here for quite a while anyways. And that's when I saw them. Lying on the floor was a group of men. They were all unconscious, but there was no explanation as to why they were there in the first place. I dropped my bags as I let the door close on its own behind me. Huh? Who the heck are these guys? Why are they here? What's going on? Some of them had open wounds. The blood was staining the floor and the scent was intermingling in the air. I couldn't help but feel bad for them instinctively, but nevertheless I was shocked and a bit angry at the sudden intrusion. My mind suddenly went from caring and concerning to confused and demanding answers. Who are you guys? No response. I'll call the police. Still nothing. None of them seemed to be awake to answer or respond to me. It seemed surreal to have random strangers in the house I just moved into, but I wanted answers quickly.